If you've ever dreamed of creating something really special and cool, but have felt kind of intimidated by the process, weren't sure how to fit it in, or just could use some creative encouragement, this is why I'm doing these weekly updates on the progress of my zine, The World is Full of Stories, which is a little book filled with my own writing, but also my paintings and drawings. So while it is just a fun creative project that I'm working on, nobody's asked me to do it or hired me to do it. I'm doing it purely because I had this little dream in my heart and I wanted to bring it to life. And also because I want to do more and more illustration and writing, and this is a great way to build those muscles. However, in many ways, it's easier to consistently show up for somebody else's dream or assignment for you than it is to show up for our own. And so I'm wanting to bring you these weekly vlog artist updates so that you can see a little peek behind the scenes at what the messy middle looks like of bringing this dream to life. Because it's not all fun and games. There is a lot of fun and it can be really joyful, but it is kind of that war of art concept where you have to face yourself every single day that you want to create and really figure out if you're going to get out of your own way so that you actually show up consistently for that dream and that vision that you have in your mind. So I've been sharing weekly updates, and if you haven't seen them, you might want to check out those before. But this weekly update, I am so excited. Last week I was feeling really discouraged and hit some major walls, and with what I was able to figure out last week, it really set up this week for success. So I want to show you what I got done, the paintings and drawings, and show you how it's all coming together. But I first want to talk to you about some of the mindset shifts that had to happen first that opened up the path so that I could show up and be consistent and really productive this week with my art. My hope in sharing any of this, especially the mindset shifts, is that regardless of if you're working on an art project or not, that you'll be able to take these same principles and see how they might affect and impact whatever your goal is that you're working towards or where your mindset is at right now. Because I think that one of the beautiful things about creating or starting anything is that we all have pretty similar experiences as far as hitting major blocks and self-sabotaging ourselves and having a lot of doubts and fears come up, and even negative self-talk that can get in the way of us actually doing the thing we really want to do. So I'm hoping that by sharing my own experience with how I'm working through all of those struggles, it will inspire and cheer you on to do the same in whatever you're creating or dreaming up. One of the biggest shifts was going back to more slow living lifestyle. I've definitely leaned into that before it was ever even a term that we were talking about online. Slow living has been something that's captured my imagination for a really long time, especially when my children were younger and all throughout the years in between. But over the past 6 months, I've really gotten disconnected from more of those slow living principles like simplifying your schedule and limiting electronic use. And so I wanted to go back to more of those principles this past week, and it really helped. I've been driving without distractions, meaning I don't have music or a podcast or audiobook on while I'm driving, which isn't always optimal, but it really helped this week to just slow down and see the sights as I was driving and just focus on my breathing and really return back to gratitude and savoring more of the present moment. I also didn't use electronics for the hour before bed. This naturally opened up more time for me to spend connecting with my loved ones, but also so that I could be reading more books before bed. I personally love the fantasy genre of books, and so reading those books each night before I went to bed would fill my mind with all sorts of creative images and fascinating circumstances that then when I got up the next morning to work on my art actually fueled a lot of creativity in the morning hours for me. So it was a good shift to my schedule. I also made sure to start my day with journaling, which is such a good practice. I can't take credit for this because I am following Julia Cameron's counsel from The Artist's Way, where you just wake up in the morning and do a brain dump into your journal and kind of help get rid of some of those gremlins and negative thoughts that might show up so that then you're free to create. I also recognized that I had been putting extra pressure on myself around optimizing every spare minute of my day to try to fit more art in. This is something I'm guilty of a lot. So I had to go back to the basics again of saying, you know what, those morning hours are enough. And then when I would go to work and then come home from work, then I would find that I could just relax and do whatever I wanted in the evenings. And I didn't feel that added pressure that I had to be creating and moving my project along as well. Over the years, I've created so many things, everything from businesses to major creative projects, and they can become all-consuming so easily to where you forget to eat and sleep. You wake up early thinking about it and get right to work at 3 a.m. You start to see your family and friends as distractions from the project. I've experienced and felt it all, and I will say that it felt really good this week to just get back to a more balanced lifestyle where I could feel more grounded with what really mattered, because I have found that a lot of times with creative projects and big dreams and goals, we think of it mostly only in the short term. And our mind justifies, well, I can do anything in the short term, but you can't always live with a super tight schedule where you're just pushing a lot into every nook and cranny of your time. It's not sustainable in the long term. And in my experience, sustainability actually kills more dreams than anything else. And so I really recognized in myself the early warning signs of burnout and started to see that I needed to really slow down, get more grounded, and see how I could build this into a more sustainable practice. And having that breathing room of, I can do art if I want to do art in the evenings, but I don't have to do art because I've already done it in the morning and just did a full work day, and now it's time to relax and chill and do whatever. So much better for my mental health and for the overall sustainability of my creative project. I also found myself leaning more into gratitude and savoring the present moment, which can be tricky when you've got this big goal and vision. Sometimes it's easy to think that everything is just going to be amazing when you get the project done in the future. But I'm trying to really remind myself that it's true. What I've found over so many years of creating cool stuff is that the journey can be just as joyful, if not more joyful, than the arrival point of when you've actually created or done the thing or completed it. And so I've been really focusing on enjoying the journey more this week and taking time to breathe and feel really grateful that I get to play and get to do some of these things that I enjoy. Also, in support of the mindset shifts that I've been experiencing this week, I found myself naturally decluttering areas of my home that had just been building up and just bugging me every time I saw them, but I was still never cleaning them up until this past week. One of those areas was my beautiful kitchen window, which I would never have called beautiful before this week because it was always just full of crap, and it was even a space where we held like our junk bowl, and it was a mess. But now that I've cleaned it out and decluttered it, it's one of my favorite places in my home now, and I've got all of these beautiful little propagations growing, and now there's just so much life and energy and light coming through that it's just such a happy spot of my home. So I found myself naturally wanting to spend more time in the kitchen or being happier when I'm in the kitchen, which makes a big difference, especially when you are primarily responsible in your home for meals and whatever goes on in the kitchen. I also have really worked on decluttering my art space a little bit more so that I just have more breathing room and space to create, which has been lovely. And the final shift in moving back to more slow living was asking myself, what kind of lifestyle do I want to have here with my family? Now, I have almost 5 teenagers. My youngest will be a teenager in July, and it can be crazy because they are all so busy. And so I really recognized here again that opportunity for family dinner time to be one of those key moments in our day to really focus on making sure happens so that whomever I can catch to eat with me and to connect, that we can have that moment spent talking, catching up, and often spent laughing. So really getting back to the kitchen this week and showing up for meal times has made a big impact in my creative practice by just helping me relax about what's happening in my home a little bit more, because I've got some of those basics happening again more consistently. And it also just helped bring my family together more this week, which was lovely. So as far as the zine progress, I've found over the years of doing projects that are going to go and be printed that it's really nice to print them out as you're going through creating the project. This can help you really start to see right away what's working and what isn't and how the overall flow is coming coming together. So I put together this binder where I've got all of the zine pages so that I can be replacing pages as I am adding art to them and updating them. And then I can also just see how it's overall coming together. This ended up being huge for helping me to really gain a lot of confidence in this project, get even more excited about it, see where it's coming together and where there's still some work to do. And so this was a huge boost to moving forward this week on my zine. I also was really surprised this week that the limitations around creating a zine and wanting to get it done in the next month or so were actually really supportive in helping me both clarify my style artistically in that mindset of let's just get the drawings done. I wasn't as focused on being super fancy with them and even get a little bit more intuitive about my process and have more fun with the drawings. I do think the concept of finding your art style is so funny in so many ways. And believe me, I have gone down all of those rabbit holes because I've been obsessed for a while with finding my own art style. But I'm finding that the more and more I've done art over the years, it's really pretty similar to finding your own handwriting style, in that how many of us really planned what our handwriting style would look like. Instead, we just focused on learning how to write the letters. And I feel like it's so similar with my art. Now, this has been a big relief because I've really relaxed into my art style this week and I haven't been as stressed about growing and changing it, and instead focused on just finishing stuff. That's also opened up another sticking point where I have totally gotten off track in past creative projects where I saw the temptation coming up again this week. It's like when I'm about halfway through a project or maybe more than halfway through a project, I start to think, well, maybe if I did this whole other art style or I used these other mediums, maybe it would be better. And then I start to think that I've got to redo all the art in the entire project. And so that was starting to creep in this week. I was looking at other drawing styles and I was looking at other watercolor methods. And I just, in the end, just had to say, no, just get it done, Quinn. And in future zines, maybe you can try those styles. But for now, we're going to stick with this style. And that brought so much peace and relief to just keep going. It's also a reason why I'm loving building a zine right now instead of a picture book. I have been working on a picture book project for almost 2 years now. And so zines feel like a way for me to be able to create a lot of books and stories in a more approachable format, which feels great for right now. I'm still going to work on finishing my picture book. My hope is to get it out by the end of the year, but it's been a really healthy and supportive part of my practice right now to really focus on creating a zine instead. I've also really gotten into my groove this week with drawing as far as getting more efficient and getting faster. So this week, my all-time record, and I wasn't even trying to be super speedy, was that I was able to finish 2 of these drawings in only 1.5 hours. Now, in prior weeks, it was taking me at least an hour and a half to get one drawing done, and usually I wasn't even finishing that drawing. So this felt like a huge win, and I'm excited about continuing on in that momentum. Not that you have to draw fast, especially as I'm just talking about slow living, but it is really nice because there's a lot more to do, and so it's nice to just take the pressure off of it feeling like it has to take forever, and instead I'm just kind of pushing those boundaries to see how much time does it actually need in order to achieve the results that I'm after. As a fun byproduct, I'm finding my hand loosening up and I'm getting a lot more loose and sketchy with some of my lines, which I'm loving way more than when it was really tight and controlled and stuck in perfectionism. So all in all, I completed 6 drawings this week and also completed these 2 watercolor paintings. So I'm so excited to test and see how they look inside the zine. I scanned the images into my computer and then I sent them over to Procreate on my iPad so that I could extract the backgrounds out of them. And then now we can put them into my design file, which I'm doing inside of Figma, and we can see how they are coming together. And I'm really, really liking it. So here is the drawing spread. It's kind of funny because there were 6 drawings that I finished this week, but they were all for this one spread. So there was a part of me that also felt like, dang it, I didn't really get that far. But I have to keep reminding myself, not all the spreads require this much art. And this was a huge accomplishment to even just get this one spread done this week. Now let's try putting the paintings into their spreads and see how that's coming together. So here again, I took photos of these and I brought them into my computer, and now we can lay them into the layouts and they look really good. So now we'll do our final step of just taking both of these spreads and putting them into the mock-up files in Photoshop so that we can see just a sneak peek of how they might look in the finished zine. I love this more three-dimensional view because it starts to bring the zine to life a lot more, and it gets me so excited for how it's all coming together. So yeah, here they are, and they turned out really, really nice. It's making me so excited to keep bringing this project to life. Now I am still contemplating some watercolor splashes, so I don't know that these spreads are fully done yet, but they are coming along really nicely. Also, for whatever reason, I have been totally avoiding working on the cover this week. It's like ever since I started working on it a couple weeks ago, I've just lost my courage for it. So my goal, my commitment, I'm going to get it done. I am hoping to really work on it this weekend. That's my plan. This happens to me quite a bit with paintings where I'll just reach a certain point where I kind of get intimidated by it and I just no longer feel inspired to keep working on it, and I let it sit for a bit. So it's been good to just sit with this piece of art, and I know it's going to come together, but it's taking some courage to get back to working on it. So if you'd like someone cheering you on in whatever you're creating, please definitely consider coming and connecting with me inside my Patreon community. And if you'd like to stay connected to some creative inspiration, be sure to hit subscribe. Next week, I'll be sharing another update on the progress of this zine. At this point, I'm getting really excited that maybe I can actually finish it by the end of May and make it available for everybody. So we'll see. Crossing my fingers, and wish me luck. And meanwhile, know that I'm cheering you on in whatever you're creating as well. And I hope you have a great week.